Welcome back, friends and family. Glad to have you here for this little postscript time where we reflect on the Sunday before. This last Sunday was a special one, not because of my sermon, though I hope you managed to gain something from it, but more importantly because of our youth, our children, sharing what they've been learning for the last several weeks, offering their gifts and talents for the benefit of our whole community and beyond. And I know that we all appreciated that very much. I did reflect on some of the imagery around God, which I think goes hand in hand with this showcase of talents. And this metaphor of God as maternal caregiver, or as I said, midwife, comes directly from the prophet Isaiah, specifically from the third iteration of Isaiah. Some of you may know that what we have as Isaiah, and what looks on the surface to be one body of writing, is actually three distinct periods that are identified by the mentions in those sections. So we are in the third part of Isaiah, the final, the culminating section, which is a return from exile. One can imagine that the imagery of God as caregiver, as midwife, especially upon return and homecoming, is very important. It's a reminder of God's presence, loving presence. And it contrasts with some of the metaphors and some of the images, perhaps, that we received growing up and that are still in circulation in the church. Now, I don't want to discredit or disparage other metaphors, but I also think it's important to highlight the more gentle and tender images of God, because at least for me growing up, God had the attributes that were at times frightening, that commanded my attention, but in some ways out of fear. See, my devotion to God or to this path was at least in part due to the fact that I was worried about misstepping and ending up where you don't want to end up. And so I loved stumbling upon this passage in Isaiah that the lectionary provided us with, where God is there encouraging, nurturing, and supporting the fruition of our lives, this building up of community and life together. I managed to take a little tour around the world, and I shared with you as well some of the names for midwives. And the reason I did so is because I think just as the word midwife has different connotations the world over, so does the term God, obviously. And God as caregiver can be rounded out and made more robust by these other names, by these other uses of that term. And so I think a couple that I mentioned were Ljósmóðir from Iceland, meaning the mother of lights, or you have Kohupokai from the Maori people in New Zealand, and it means to be stretched over a family like a protective cloak. And I thought, wow, how rich and full and interesting and generative this imagery is. Why don't we apply some of that to God? And so for me, I hope the creative matrix that God emerges as in my reflection is something you can carry with you and do your own work. Because I don't know what metaphor you need. I don't know what image of God is serving you the best right now in your life. I suspect that different seasons in our life require different kinds of images. The images that Luke has at 7 are different than the images I have at 44, which are different than the images my parents and my grandparents have. We all come with different images of God, and so I encourage you to think through this increasing range, this expansive list of metaphors, and lean into that. We don't have to reduce God to 1, 2, 3, or even 10 things. There are these other metaphors available to us in Scripture and tradition, and so I invite you to consider which of those means the most and speaks the most to you today. So I hope that will carry you through this week in that work, and I look forward to seeing you on Sunday and of course next Tuesday as well for our postscript. Have a great week.